A lot of people know that they should be saving and or investing, but they don't know the first place to start. And so what we're going to talk about today on the Investing Mastermind podcast is what are the money habits people should have before they were to start investing. So with that, Sina, what are some of your thoughts about what do people need to have in place before they even get to the point of investing in the stock market?
Number one, the most important thing, you guys out there, set a financial goal. I speak with so many people that they don't know where they're going or want to go financially. And it is so important to know your goal because if you have a goal, you know exactly how to get there, how much you're gonna save up when you stand in line for that coffee. You might choose a slightly more inexpensive coffee than the grande latte with all the toppings on. So if you know where you're going, if you set a goal, a financial goal, then you know what steps do I need to take in order to get there, or at least even though you don't know the steps in detail right away, you still have that North Star that you know that you're going after. And I can tell you, yes, I do have a financial goal. My goal, my financial goal, the way I've broken it down is I have a certain number, but I also have a softer objective, so to speak. So my financial goal is $1 million, 13th of July, 2025. So in about a year from now, I need to have that saved or invested or have that in my investment account. And the soft part of that goal was to focus what I'm passionate about and experience the wonders of the world with my family. So that's sort of the softer reason why I want $1 million in my account. And I can tell you that I'm well on my way. And also in terms of the soft goals, as you know, I left my corporate job in order to focus what I'm passionate about, which is investing. So it's not a goal I set last year. It was a goal I set in 2020. I started thinking about it in 2019, that was what I wanted, but I set the goal in the summer of 2020.
Wow, that's an incredible goal. And I really love that scene of how you have a very focused goal that is both an objective, factual amount of what you're trying to achieve by a certain date, but also the soft goal component of it, which the reason you're doing this is to have a great life with your family and be able to go on vacations that are nice and your children can see the world. I admire that tremendously. So that's a really great goal. And I have some goals as well. They might not be quite as set in stone yet. I mean, I definitely want to become a millionaire. I don't have a set date by when I expect to reach that, but someday I want to get there. And also, I have similar motivations. Like I would like to have enough of a financial cushion to provide to my family. And so whatever people's reasons are, you can have a financial goal of you just want to pay off your student loans. That might be one of your main things that you focus on if you're, say, 25 and you graduated college a few years ago, or you're also in a master's program and you have some student loan debt from that. If you make a goal like, okay, within the first 2 years of me getting a real life job, I'm going to pay off all my student loans. That's really worthwhile. I kind of did that when I was at that age. In my mid 20s, I set a goal that I wanted to be debt free from my student loans. So I accomplished that back then. So, whatever your goal is that you want to set to, that's your North Star, like Sina said.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the goals that I often hear that, when people meet with me, what they say is they want to be financially free, financially independent. But then I start asking about the details, right? Because financially independent or financially free, it can be a range of different things. Like some people want to be rich and financially independent, and some people, they want to continue to work in their job, but have the luxuries of sometimes going on a nice vacation or have the freedom to do what they want in their spare time. So it really ranges, but as soon as you know where you're going, and maybe even if you have the amount, the target, the number, you just know where you're headed. And I have a former mentee that I worked with a couple of years ago now, and she wanted to become financially independent and also knew where on the scale she wanted to be. That was something we discussed and talked about, and I helped her find out what is it your number, what is your financially freedom number. And I'm so impressed with the choices that she has made in her life in order to actually focus on that goal. So it's been with her career, it's been what she's spending her money on and prioritizing spending money on. It's super impressive, but she also knows exactly where she's heading, and she wants that so much more than a cafe latte at Starbucks. She wants to be independent so much more rather than like that quick fix that a coffee can give you. So it's extremely powerful. It'll help you. What we're going to talk about today is prioritization of your money as well as knowing where you're getting. So I definitely encourage that.
Some things I heard from what you're saying is it's how we get to a point of making financial decisions. Like in the case of what you mentioned of your mentee, she had a very clear idea of the financial direction she's going in life. So she's willing to delay gratification instead of needing a morning coffee from a coffee shop. She's making a conscientious decision to put that money into a place that will compound for her instead, whether that's in certain investments or maybe in a savings account where you forgo the immediate gratification of something that you just spend money on in the moment. Like some people might feel like, oh, I would just like some chocolate. So I'm just going to go and buy a candy bar at the store. And then, that's like $5 of candy you bought or something to just immediately satisfy that urge. But if you are more conscientious about it, you might make a little bit of different decisions than just impulsively buying just because you feel like it at that moment. You will think, actually, do I really need to go there and splurge like that right now on this little indulgence? Maybe I don't need it. So I can hold back. I can wait until a later time. And maybe for now, I'll just drink some water to just pass that feeling. But I would say that would be one of the key habits that people maybe form. And some of it is starting earlier in life. Like they've done a marshmallow test in the past, like with psychologists and children of, I think they offered a marshmallow to a child and they said, you can either eat it now, if you like, you go ahead. No, there's no repercussions. Or if you wait for a little bit, you'll get a second marshmallow later. So they test the children's desire to either be immediately gratified or if they're able to wait, and then they'll get two marshmallows. So it's that sort of thinking is the fundamental habit of what we really need when it comes to saving money and investing is if you can find it in yourself to delay that gratification.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also what I mean when I say, you start prioritizing what's important to you. And something that I also experience is that people forget to save part of their income. What comes in must go out, right? So that they spend everything that comes in instead of setting some money aside for investing or savings or whatever you want to do. But again, if you know where you're going, regardless of its financial independence or that house you're dreaming of with a garden, that you can allocate some of your money towards that so you don't spend everything you earned. I see a lot of people doing that, spending, and living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, when people live like that, they may not have formed some of the right money habits when they were younger. And some of this starts out with family influences. So I grew up in a household where my mother always said, save your money. You never know in case there's a rainy day. What if something happens? You have to be prepared. So it was enforced in my mind that I need to save my money. Like, and I started out just doing that. Like, my parents got me a little savings piggy bank, and I started out savings accounts at banks where I had a little passbook where every time I deposit a little money, they used to, in the olden times, print out on a little savings passbook. Here's how much you deposited. This is the total amount, and this is what your new savings is in the account. So forming those habits when children are younger can be really helpful and motivating. And, I had little motivating things my parents did with me. Like, for example, my dad would pay me like 50 cents if I found a four-leaf clover. So I found a bunch of four-leaf clovers and he paid me some money. And then I kept that money and I just held on to it so I could save up for something I liked as a child. Like it was probably candy, but that sort of idea of motivating us to save our money and then save it up for a bigger purpose, you can make it fun, making saving a habit as a child.
Yeah, I come from a completely different type of family, Michelle. So when I was a kid, I would sometimes get a little bit of cash, like $1, $2 from my dad to go buy candy. And yes, you could get a lot of candy for that amount when I was a kid. And I would go and spend all the money on candy because I was told go spend it on candy. And as an adult, I've oftentimes thought about how come you weren't the clever kid, Sina, that thought about, ooh, you don't have to spend the whole $2 on candy. You could buy a little bit of candy and save some of them. But nope, it never crossed my mind when I was a kid. I got $1 for candy, so I went and spent $1 for candy. And I had to learn it the hard way, to be absolutely brutally honest. Had to learn it the hard way by making my own mistakes all throughout my life in terms of financial teachings and money habits and things like that. It was making my own mistakes, learning from them, and then changing how I reviewed things. And I still have many things to learn. I'm definitely not there, but I'm very different from when I was a child. Like, I'm much better at prioritizing. And the great thing about actually being a business owner and not having to go to work every day, it's actually also that I don't spend as much money as I did when I was a part of a corporation. Even though I worked so much harder, I worked really hard. I also do work today, but I have more free time to spend my money in, so to speak, right? But I'm just much more frugal. I think it's because I'm not constantly impacted, or should we go there and should we go there and let's go eat lunch outside of the office or something like that. So I'm just spending way less than ever before, and I really love it. I don't need to spend more. Like, we were just on a holiday, on a family holiday to Egypt, so that's what I like. You heard my objective is to experience the wonders of the world, and my key result is, a monetary result. But that's what I want to prioritize. So I still get to do the things I really want to do, while all the things that I don't necessarily need to do, I don't do that anymore. And I really appreciate this kind of simple life. I get it more. And I actually, had you asked me a year ago or 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said I like a simple life. Like, I couldn't have imagined what it would be like, because I was just in a whole nother state. And so it's actually quite difficult for me to explain it to you guys out there, the feeling that I'm feeling about the simple life versus how it felt while I was in the hamster wheel and really felt that, oh yeah, spending, spending, spending. But it feels so much better. It feels so much better to not buy stuff all the time and have that need.
Yeah. And I feel like I can relate a little bit. Like while I've been a big saver throughout my life, as it's been instilled in me from my family, and I got introduced to investing from like more in my teenage years from some of my cousins, and like my parents had started a custodial minor account for me that is really good for children or teenagers to have. Basically an adult, like your parent, has started an investing account on your behalf. And then when you're 18, you get to take over that. So I was fortunate in some of my family members having that kind of mindset from that point of view. But also, I can relate in how, like before the pandemic, I used to go out with my coworkers. We used to, have happy hour, eat out more, and I spend more money and also drove a lot more. And I'm the kind of person who keeps track of my petrol, gasoline expenses. So in my car, I have records going back to, before the pandemic of like, wow, I spent $1,600 on gasoline in a year in my car from driving to work and going out. And then during the pandemic, it became more of a simple life. Like I didn't eat out as much anymore. Like I just ate more home meals, and I saved a lot of money there by not hanging out with coworkers, eating after work. And also I saved a lot of money in gasoline. So I saved thousands of dollars not going out during the pandemic, and it was both good for my wallet and also my weight. Like I actually lost some weight because I wasn't going out and eating out as much. So it's actually, there's a lot of things that we can embrace as part of a more simple life when you realize you don't really have to spend money to be happy and have a good life as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And yeah, it's difficult to explain for sure, you know, when the rest of the world is really different. And it's difficult to explain to someone who is in it right now, in that spending pattern of spending a lot of money on little things. And yeah, I totally understand also that feeling of fear of the simple life. I remember with Warren Buffett, he's always lived a more simple life, living close to work, not spending, you know, he always goes through McDonald's for his breakfast, but he gets a really cheap breakfast meal there, and just known as being really frugal. And I remember, you know, when I was in that hamster wheel myself, not being able to really understand necessarily what he was all about. Like, I just did not understand. And I do understand it much better now, 100%, that, you know, I don't have to spend. And he also likes, for sure, you know, when you read some of the biographies and things like that, he does also like luxury and things like that. But I think what he likes the most about that is when he's invited and don't have to pay for himself.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, it's a, the irony is the cheapest sort of people tend to be rich people. And actually the people in society, we have a little bit of a misconception. You might see the flashy people with the fancy cars, the people driving the Teslas or the carrying fancy handbags, and you think those people are rich because they look like they're rich, and they might be, but a lot of the time the people who are actually rich are the people who are driving an old beat up car and they look like they're wearing everyday clothes from Costco that you can't even tell. They just look like a normal person, and yet they're secretly really wealthy. So it just goes to show that you don't need to show off in order to achieve your financial goals. Like, I mean, if that's the kind of person you are, you might be very materialistic and it just makes you feel better to have Birkin bag. And, maybe that's something that you've been saving up all your life for, like a Chanel bag, and you're like, "Oh wow, I need to achieve that for myself." Maybe there are some people out there that that's one of their driving financial goals. Like whatever your goals are, we're not trying to say that that's bad, but if you want to have other things in life, sometimes we have to kind of be conscientious of the financial decisions we make because let's say you want to have a better life for your family's future. Could it be wise to spend $20,000 on a handbag if you want to have better financial security for your loved ones? That's a decision you have to make. What is, in a sense, a practical way forward based on trying to balance your wants and desires and also those of the people you care about?
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's a great wrap up because it's back to the goal. It's back to what you want to achieve and then making decisions from that. How much of my income should go into savings when I have that goal? If I want to own that house in 5 years, I should really save up 20% of my salary. And that is possible, you guys, even though you don't think about it today, like I couldn't possibly save 20% of my income. Maybe you could. I've been in that situation where I absolutely did not think I could do that. And then coming out of it, I absolutely could without suffering at all. So, it's just because like a lot of people, they're also they just don't understand where their money went. It's like there's a hole in my wallet. I have no idea where my money goes. So yeah, start tracking it. There are so many great apps out there. And even here in Denmark, a lot of the banks have apps where you can see all sorts of overviews.
To summarize some of what we're saying is if you want to have a somewhat stepwise way, because I'm that kind of person who likes to go about things in a stepwise way, maybe number one is identify your financial goals, like prioritize them. That's number one, right, Sina? Number two, take stock of what are all of your financial obligations, like what are all the debts you have, write them down or put them in an app. And then also write down all of your sources of income. Where are you getting money from? Banks and your job and investments or money from your parents? Who knows? Like there could be different sources of income and the sources that you have to pay into, like your utility bills and your car loan and your student loans and mortgage. There could be so many financial obligations you have. So if you have a very clear understanding of what each of those are, you will write them down. You will keep track of them, like Sina said. And number three, then you start trying to make better decisions of where the money that's coming in, where it's going out to, And then once you have that also lined up, then you can also see how much can I still save at the end of the day? And how much not only can you save, but how much can I even invest? So think about that. You need a little bit of savings cushion to pay for everyday things like you get into a car accident. Now you need to pay for a new bumper. Maybe that is something you need a little bit of money lying around to pay for that rainy day situation. So have a cushion there. And then of what's left of what you don't just need to save for, say, 6 months worth of expenses and accidents, and then what you have left, then you can maybe invest that. So that's maybe step number 4. You get to the point of actually investing your money. So think about things like that of logically in the order of where money's coming in and then where you want it to go next. And if you map that out, you can have a better financial direction for yourself. So those are just some of the high level. I mean, we could go so much deeper into this, but I know we're wrapping it up for today. So we hope that this episode helped you. If you have any thoughts, leave us some feedback, give us a comment if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, or let us know what your thoughts are if you find us on Instagram. So, yeah, with that, Signe, any closing thoughts?
Nope, I am ready to finish the show, so we'll be back in a week from now on Tuesday.
Till next time.
If you enjoyed the show and found the content informational, we would be super grateful if you would leave us a review and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you automatically get new episodes in your feed. We publish a new show every Tuesday.
The contents of the Investing Mastermind podcast are for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. None of this is investing advice, and if you need help in your personal situation, please consult with a professional.